Hello there and welcome to Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, the Writers' Room podcast dedicated to fixing the Star Wars sequels. I'm Bryce Quinn and I'm joined by Emily Holden, one of our co-hosts, backup hosts. How you doing, Emily?
Good. Happy to be back today.
Yes, we are all happy to be back after a very long break, including our lead writer, Carmelo Keating. How are you doing, Melo?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. We don't have Sandra here this week, so how are we feeling about progress?
There's no one to keep me in check today, which I really like. Yes. Also, Emily, hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, Melo.
You're welcome.
I've got a little bit of housekeeping at the start of the episode today. I'm going to start with this before we get into it. This is our 7th episode, and if you've made it this far, you're willing to put up with a few things. Firstly, some pretty average sound quality. I've been editing episodes 1 through 6 very recently, and oh boy, I'm so sorry. They're not bad. I just have a pretty high bar for what I think is good sound editing. But I apologize. I'm trying to improve the quality, but I'm very new to sound editing, and our previous location was right next to a busy street there. That's my excuse. Secondly, Carmelo and I are now roommates at a new location where hopefully the sound is much better. And if you're watching anything on TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, you will see the new location, which is where we are right now. Thirdly, you may have noticed that we have absolutely no idea what we're doing or what we're talking about at all whatsoever. So that is because all of us are either university students or recent graduates. We have no industry writing experience and are supremely underqualified for writing any script, let alone a Star Wars one. But that isn't going to stop us, so if you're in for the ride, let's jump into episode 7.
That sounds good.
That was the housekeeping.
That was great. Love that.
So yeah, today we'll be talking about Leia as well as the characters we think should be involved in her story, which are Lando and Hux, but more on that later. The way the show works is firstly, some brief character context. Then Article 1, what went wrong with the characters in the sequels. After that is the fun part, Article 2, our pitches and ideas for how to fix the characters. And then Article 3, our conclusions.
Rightio. Wow. So we're just getting right into it?
Get right into it. We can jump into context. So I've got little notes and you guys can add in if you want. Leia is just dot points.
Cool.
Daughter of Padme and Anakin, famous princess of Star Wars, both off-screen and on-screen as Carrie Fisher, General of the Rebellion, and the New Republic. That's kind of her character. Yep. Contextually, yeah, like out of the story, Leia and Carrie Fisher were very much synonymous for the past 20, 30 years kind of thing. And obviously with the tragic passing away of Carrie Fisher, that had a huge impact on the sequels. I feel like people are pretty much up to speed on that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other notes from you, Melo or Emily?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my main thing is just more Leia, but obviously with Carrie you can't have that. But yeah, that's my main thing, just more of her.
You wish we got more?
I mean, yeah.
Ways.
Yeah. Sure. And I suppose that's the beauty of writing in a vacuum here is that we don't have to feel the need to write Leia out essentially of episode 9.
Yeah, we're lucky enough that we can just write more Leia if we want more Leia to be there because we know there's never a chance of us actually live casting, having actors for this, so we can just write more, which is nice.
Yeah, also I think actually between the last episode recording and this one, Carrie finally got her star on the Walk of Fame.
She did get her star on the Walk of Fame, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
very cool.
Well deserved.
And Mark Hamill was there for that as well, right?
Yeah, and Billy Lord, her daughter.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
So Lando, context for Lando, roguish scoundrel and ex-criminal, I think he's a criminal at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Master of pleasures and maker of deals, ace pilot and war hero. That's pretty much who Lando is in all of the stories and all of the movies and that kind of thing. That's kind of Lando. He's just like a cool guy. Billy D. Williams is amazing. Donald Glover, also amazing. Perfect casting for both, I think. I think that's universally kind of agreed upon.
Yeah, and just so people are aware, we're also trying to get more Lando in this trilogy.
Yeah, we are, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yep.
Hux, son of Brendel Hux, as seen in The Mandalorian, General of the First Order, and overall total douchebag. So that's the context for, the actual sequels, and the Brendel Hux thing's interesting in The Mandalorian season 3.
Honestly, missed opportunity to chuck Brendan Gleeson in there as his actual dad, perhaps.
I said this when we watched the episode. They couldn't get Brendan Gleeson for Mandalorian Season 3. There's zero chance that's happening.
I mean, they saved money by not having Pedro Pascal on set. So, we won't get into it.
Oh, gosh. So, yeah, that's kind of our context. I don't know if there's much more to add to it. Leia's considered the princess. Lando's cool. Hux is evil and a douche.
I think I feel the need to start small, move up. So, start with Hux and then...
Oh, okay. I had just had it written the way we've been talking about it.
Okay,
so, Article 1, what went wrong in the sequel trilogy? I've got Leia first, but if you want to do Hux first, we can do Hux.
I just thought it's so easy because Hux is kind of like, representative of what, again, happened with that trilogy in terms of lack of planning, lack of coordination. He's a different character in every film.
Yeah.
100%.
I wasn't thinking about that when I was going through what I hate about his character. I was stuck on the, he's comically evil. He's barely a character. He's like a cartoon character.
His motives just seem so unwarranted. Like him coming out as the spy, you're like, what? Like it just seems so out of nowhere. And it's with the past planning. Like it's just you don't believe it.
The fact that it's down to his pettiness for Kylo Ren, it's like, oh.
Like, that can't be a good enough reason to risk so much, especially for a character that is so selfish. And, like, even though he's evil, he's still well planned. Like, there's no way he would risk everything just on pettiness. Like, there's no way he's throwing away everything just.
So kind of the inconsistency of his character, you guys are not a fan of at all, which is very fair. I hadn't even thought about it, to be honest.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of issues in his character, and as we'll get into later, our sort of versions that we've been writing of him are completely different. But
they are radically different, some of the ideas we've had for Hux.
Yeah. But one of the things I did like in Force Awakens is, like, that...
No. What are you talking about?
We've
got a whole section for that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Only negativity right now,
that are wrong. Okay, so Force Awakens, like, no, they present him as this, like, Tarkin, Hitler-esque, leader. Yeah. I mean, he literally is there, does a speech, and everyone salutes him. And then
they do the salute.
He fires Starkiller Base, and then he gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
In 8.
In Last Jedi, yeah.
And then, in 9, he's just, like, a total fucking wimp.
And then he gets shot.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, I was watching back his death, and I was like, really?
Yeah, that's how he dies. He just gets shot by, is it General Pride?
Yeah.
Who kills him? Yeah.
I'm gonna turn off my phone because it's actually not.
Oh, you put it on Do Not Disturb and it didn't obey?
No, it's a Samsung. I blame Samsung.
See, we always come back to this.
That's on record.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's it for me for Hux, really.
Lando. What went wrong with Lando? I think for anything to have gone wrong, he had to have been in it more than he was. So
yeah.
My only question is, what the fuck is he doing in episode 7 and 8? Where is his character? What is he doing? That's the question, I guess.
Yeah, he just seems like kind of wishy-washy, like from such a strong charismatic character that we see before, who like knows what he's doing. He's so well dressed, like he's very keen on his appearance and how he presents himself. I just don't know like how he got there and like how he fell so far. I was like, it just doesn't feel like
I love
Lando.
it, Emily. You're so caught up in like, how did he fall so far from being stylish to being that? He looks like shit.
Not that that's my main concern, but it is up there. It is up there on the concerns.
My biggest thing is that he's underutilized. Like, by the end of Return of the Jedi, he's a core part of that hero team. Literally, and, he has his character transformation in 5. Sure, he doesn't have a lot to go through in 6, but he blows up the second Death Star. Yeah. So... You'd
be getting a medal ceremony for that, I reckon.
Yeah. Big old one. He's completely underutilized. And then one of my bigger gripes is, like, just his introduction in 9.
It's very weird. It's just, I don't know, he has a crossbow and then he's just there.
He's just there coincidentally on that planet.
Yeah.
And 3PO's like, look who it is. Lando Calrissian. We know who he is, 3PO. Ray goes is like, yep. We're talking to the audience here.
Oh,
just to remind you that is, in fact, Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian.
Let's just take a moment for that, because it's so frustrating when this movie thinks it's like, oh, we know this is straight up just fan service, and we're looking at the audience saying, oh, you like the fan service? It's like, not only is this movie shit, but you're insulting us as well. No wonder people are so mad at Rise of Skywalker. Anyway, rant done.
And then he refuses to get involved in the fight, and then goes off screen on some massive adventure to get a civilian fleet of thousands of ships, and he comes in the last moment to... Anyway.
Yeah, good lord. Rise of Skywalker, what a mess. So, Leia. We're going to move on to Leia.
Yeah.
What went wrong with Leia? My first note is the 2 words, literally everything. That's my note about Leia in the sequels.
I feel like we lost a lot of her fiery passion that we see at the start. Like, at the start, she's so quick and sharp and just, like, everything she says is exactly on point. And, like, she doesn't take crap from anyone. And then as the movies go on, and I don't think this is, like...
Do you mean in the original trilogies? That's her personality?
In the original. Yeah. But then as you get to the end, like, I don't think it's a maturity thing of she just feels more docile and just kind of fading into the background when that's, like, so not who she is, not how she was raised. And it's just...
They go into a lot of stuff in the extra media and like comics and books and stuff, and being like, she's exhausted, still keeping up this fight so many decades later and stuff like that. But yeah, it does like take away a lot of the excitement that is Leia, who's just doesn't take shit from anyone.
Yeah,
there's a reason original Leia is a fan favorite is because she's so fiery and passionate, and she has the wit. Yeah. And she's always insulting people, and it's fantastic, and that's why you love her.
Yeah, and she's willing to take the danger. Like, not only is she like well presented, but she can like she's cool. She's a badass.
Yeah, and she gets involved in the fight.
Oh, exactly.
Herself.
Yeah, exactly. So, she's not just sending other people. Like, I think that's another thing we missed. It was just kind of her watching from the sidelines a lot, and not her actually physically going out there with them.
Yeah, and just because she's older doesn't mean that she can't.
I don't think that would stop her.
Take up a blaster against anyone who's not Poe Dameron. Quick fun thing. Can I do a quick fun thing?
Go for it.
Okay. You know that scene in episode 8 where Leia slaps Poe after he's like, caused the death of thousands of hundreds of rebels. 25 takes.
To get the slap?
Yep.
Why?
I don't know, but Carrie Fisher got to slap Oscar Isaac 25 times.
I actually
Surely
love
they
that.
got it on the first one, and they were like, let's just do it again.
See how
Let's
far
just
It
do
was
it
just
again."
Carrie Fisher. Just like, let me go again.
Yeah.
Let me go again.
I
It's just
didn't-
enjoying
I
it.
missed it.
Yeah,
That's
anyway.
really funny.
But no, I think again underutilized.
Yeah. I got some nitpicks.
Yeah.
So she ignores Chewie after Han dies. And I think as small of a thing as that is, that detail is incredibly important if you think about it. Just for, oh man. Watching it, we watched Force Awakens again the other day, Mello, and oh my god, I just like got angry watching that little moment where Chewie just walks right past her.
Yeah.
They have him in the shot.
Yeah.
He walks right past her and she ignores him and looks at Rey, and I'm like, man, we missed the shot on the Force Awakens, I think. It all starts here.
And he's trying to shoehorn that in. Then she dies, but doesn't die in 8.
Yeah.
Gets to fly through space.
I was gonna, my next thing down, I have 3 notes for Leia. The third one is Space Princess.
Space Princess.
Where she flies through the space with like the ice crystals on her face and everything. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it feels like it's treading that line from like, I know Star Wars is unbelievable, I know it's silly, it's goofy, but there's a point where you're like, really? That?
I think we can safely say that shot, her flying through space with the Force, that's gone. Like we don't want any part of that.
Yeah, Leia we can debate all day with Leia using the Force in this trilogy, but not like that. And what was your second or third note there you had on Leia?
That was it.
That was it? Okay.
The more we think about it, going back, I am very disappointed by how they treated Leia.
Absolutely.
In Force Awakens, Last Jedi, people debate back and forth whether like the robot stuff was good or bad, or the AI stuff or whatever. They did what they could. They tried their best, I think, with Leia and that unique, unfortunate situation. But in Last Jedi and Force Awakens, I think her character is just wasted.
Yeah.
And not at all who we remember Leia to be in the original trilogy.
Bit more context there. So I don't know if this was really a plan, but this was the thing that had happened. Episode 7, focus was on Han. Each movie of this trilogy was meant to focus on one of the old heroes.
Yeah.
And it does. Like Han's a big part of 7, Luke's a big part of 8, and Leia was going to be a big part of 9. Obviously we didn't get to see that. But then even going back to George Lucas's original treatment, prequels focus on Anakin, originals focus on Luke, sequels were meant to focus on Leia.
Yeah.
Leia was meant to be a really key part of his original run of 7, 8, and 9. So again, didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
But it could have been interesting.
I think we've talked about that before, and we'd like to bring that back into the story a bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like also what, like a lot of stuff they didn't really, like obviously yes, she was a political spokesperson in the latest 3 and you got to see a bit of a political side, but you didn't get to see it the same way that you got to see with like Padme in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that would have been a lot of cool similarities to poke at, because like all throughout Clone Wars, Padme is just so outspoken and is what I thought Leia was going to be in the latest 3, but
Yeah.
I guess not.
I think we saw shades of that, and I'm going into dangerous territory here. But we saw shades of that in Kenobi. And I really liked a lot of what they did with Leia's character in Kenobi. I thought it was,
for sure.
It was really cool. And you see like, oh, she's Padme's daughter. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
1,000%. Like, she's
100%.
Padme's daughter.
That was-
And it was really cool.
Yeah, one of the few things I enjoy
Yeah.
about Kenobi. And it makes sense in the setup because like we know that in the current canon, again, more extended content, that she was a senator or assistant senator or something for Alderaan when she was younger. She's met the Emperor as well when she was like 16.
Mm.
And that's in a comic somewhere. And
That's cool.
really, it's like sinister. And then, turned rebel freedom fighter. And then, the fact that like she doesn't play a bigger role in terms of like she was this rebellion hero and senator. She would have a very big role to play in the political state going forward of the galaxy after 6.
And I think that brings me to just a thought I had now. I think Leia is a casualty in the war of writing the sequels to have the First Order be a huge force.
Yep.
And having the political landscape be null and void for the sake of the story that they had to tell in Force Awakens because of, bureaucracy in Hollywood, all that yada 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 bullshit. Because of the way they had the Force Awakens start, Leia had to be the character that we got. And I think that's, I've said this before, it's the original sin of the sequel trilogy is having the movie set up that way. And I think Leia's a huge casualty of that as well.
Okay.
I think we can jump into what we like now.
What we do like. Okay, cool.
So yeah, Article 1.5. What we liked, we'll start with Hux again.
Right,
Hux, Lando,
yeah.
Leia.
What I did like about Hux in 7 was that he was just this villain.
Yeah.
And he was strong, and he did give this strong, rousing speech of pure evil. And then they gradually just start to make him weaker and less of an actual.
Yeah, he's like
character.
a sniveling, fool in Last Jedi. But in Force Awakens, he's like a pretty compelling, like, you hate him. You hate this guy.
Yeah, and plus, like, he holds his own in
Yeah.
conversations with Kylo Ren. Like, there's a very clear competition between the two of them.
Yeah.
But he's not there to get kicked around.
Yeah, well, I feel like he's a really good representation of the First Order and what they represent and how they kind of interact with others. But you also have to, like, consider if Kylo Ren had come into power, he kind of would have taken on the Darth Vader role as his assistant. And I think, obviously, he's not going to hold up to Darth Vader, but he has that kind of power over him. Like, you walk into the room and it just goes cold and quiet. Like, even though he doesn't, like, he's standing next to these people with, like, the Force and these absolutely terrifying people, and he holds his own easily.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I agree. As it goes on, you're just like, dude.
Yeah,
like,
they wanted him to be sort of the Grand Moff Tarkin to the Kylo Ren's Darth Vader.
Yeah, 100%.
And it kind of almost happens in Force Awakens.
It gets close.
If Force Awakens was a better
doesn't.
movie, I think that would have worked and would have been like, oh, it's younger versions of, you know, these characters we remember from the original trilogy.
Yeah. And you do see, like, the power hungriness, but he is still, like, smart. Like, it's nice to have smart and calculated villains.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then I think I do this every episode, but like another one of the things I like from the external media for him was that in the Phasma novel, it's revealed that he and Phasma teamed up to have his father killed so that
that's right.
he could usurp power and take his role.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that before, which is cool.
Yeah. But again, that means fuck all because we don't get to see it.
So disagreeing with the two of you from earlier,
Okay.
I actually really love, and it's so stupid, and Rise of Skywalker is a stupid movie, but the line, I don't care if you win, I want Kylo Ren to lose, is a metal line. It is so cool. And in the movie theater, I'm like, oh, I know what kind of movie we're in for now.
Yeah.
This is going to be dumb fun. And it was, you know, I have a dumb fun time watching that movie. It's sad that that's what we got from the conclusion of, you know, fucking Star Wars.
I just think for someone so smart, he's so stupid.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
completely
I was
agree.
like-
But I just think it's so funny. And then you get Poe immediately like, I knew it. And Finn's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
I think that's all like brilliant. And I think is a great scene that would work in a different movie much better.
I think I just like I'm gonna go back to this because
Go for it.
because just completely missed it. Yeah, didn't do Domhnall Gleeson justice as an actor.
I mean, he's an incredibly talented actor.
Yeah.
And we've seen him in a lot of other stuff that we really like. And then we watch him in this. And it's like, it was so close, but they've kind of wasted him, you know?
I mean, I think it falls, like, trapped to the same thing where there's so much stuff they're trying to put in, and you're just like, you don't get to see enough of his character. Like, maybe if he had, like, 10 more minutes, just 10 more minutes to show.
So, Lando?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Hux stuff?
do you like more things about Hux or we just...
No, that one line
cool,
is all.
Cool.
So Lando, what we liked. Oh, I've written the same thing again. That's upsetting. I've just written, where the fuck is he in episode 7 and 8? I didn't write anything.
You liked
No, that's
that?
not right.
No,
I went to... Oh, no. Sorry, I'm fucking derailing
That's
the podcast.
right.
No, Lando,
Yeah.
he's cool. He's cool as hell. Like, Lando's the best. He's a cool dude.
Yeah. Just, simply having him back. And it's interesting. I think that Billy D. Williams, just because, you know, Lando is Billy D. Williams, was able to recapture the magic of his character 30 years later.
Is it fan service? Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the positive is that he's there. I don't really have more to say. Like, I'm
No.
trying to think, I'm like, oh, what's some really cool character moments? And I'm like,
It's
he could
just Rise of
walk
Skywalker.
onto the screen and you're like, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you walk in the screen and you hear, you know, Disney cash and checks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so hard to enjoy it sometimes when we know things like
It's
this.
so obvious.
Yeah. It's just he's in Rise of Skywalker. He's in it for 2 or 3 scenes, and you know what we get is fine, I guess.
Things we liked about Leia.
I thought her interactions with Han were pretty nice.
Yeah, they were.
In Force Awakens, they have some nice moments together. Obviously, you know it's not perfect.
No,
But
some
of
clunky
the-
dialogue.
Some
there.
clunky dialogue, but some of the emotions and the acting that they were delivering between each other, it was like a nice back and forth, and you kind of see they still have that love for each other. I
Yeah.
thought that was nice.
It definitely is like the one bit where I'm like, oh, this does feel like the originals. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same, but yeah,
Mm.
the dialogue lets them down.
It does.
And I actually really did like the chemistry she had with Poe in 8, though. Like,
They do have a really cool relationship.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, almost mentor-mentee kind of relationship, and she's trying to teach him how to be a good leader.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the story of Poe in the second movie. Is it done well? Absolutely not. But
Yeah.
I think, you know, Leia's, you know, and Carrie Fisher's performance in Last Jedi is very good.
I do like the training sequence in the past in Episode 9 that we get to see of Luke and Leia.
Oh, I hate that.
But yeah, you don't like that bit?
No.
No, I don't know. I just thought it was cool to see them training together. Again, something that we'll probably get into later is the question of whether or not Leia would have trained to be a Jedi. But
Yeah.
in the context of the films that we got, I thought that was cool to see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this isn't a positive, but yeah, just Leia and Luke not being able to see them interact. Like, you're like, you see her with Han, and you're like, it's so close. It's so close to being there.
Yeah.
And you just feel empty. At least I did.
So, that scene we get in Rise of Skywalker where we see like a flashback to her training and everything. I've always felt that there's a couple moments in Rise of Skywalker that are like really good fan films.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
one of those
That's
moments
fair.
where
No,
it's
fair.
that flashback. I'm like, oh, this would be a really good fan film. The fact that I'm watching this on a big screen for a blockbuster release, I am thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah, is it the having other actors in those roles and then like deep faking their face?
It's that, and I think even just the choreography and like the stunt work in that scene, I was just like, this is just not good.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well,
Fix pitches. Let's do it. Article 2, our fix pitches. How we would fix Leia, Lando, and Hux in the sequel trilogy. What would we do to change them in the writing? Because we're doing our own rewrite. So what are we going to do with it? Start with Hux.
Clear his motivations.
Yeah,
make it
obvious,
really,
yeah.
really clear. If he's going to be selfish and just wants him to win, which he kind of like is set up for against the whole Kylo, like he just wants him to win, that's fine. But show how far he's willing to go. And if you are going to do the whole, he really does believe in the First Order, why? Like,
Actually,
what's his...
I've just remembered, just to give a bit of context, if this is your first episode, or if, you haven't really been paying attention for episodes 1 through 6, the reason Hux, Lando, and Leia are lumped in together like this is because we imagine them to be the characters interacting in the Senate, in the New Republic, on Hosnian Prime. That's C story for us of, like, the first movie.
Yeah.
And, the story we want to tell about the political side of everything. And those are the characters interacting. So we're trying to figure out what their motivations are and where they are coming at each other and how.
Yeah, for all you prequels haters, we're not ignoring politics in this because we need context, and we think that we can do a good job of it.
Is there prequels haters anymore? I feel like everyone's come around now on the prequels.
I hope so. I hope everyone's come around. I hope there's not prequels haters. Anyway.
I mean, yeah, Star Wars is politics.
Star Wars is politics.
Star Wars is that's all it's about.
It's war.
It's for kids. It's like there's two sides. It's for kids, but it's a real world. You're going to have a bit of politics in it, and I think that's what Hux is really going to be good at, to show the opposition to Leia, but not just have the First Order as some undeniable power that everyone fears. Like, some people would believe in the First Order, and there are some planets that are going to go to them willingly.
Yeah.
And what manipulation tactics are they using to get the people on their side? Like, it can't all just be fear. Like, I think one of the ways that Hux, in my mind, would generally work as he truly believes he can help the galaxy, but only through controlling it.
Yeah.
Versus Leia has the only way to help the galaxy is through diplomacy.
Yeah.
And listening.
I see him as this kind of like this villain of circumstance where he's coming at things all wrong, which makes him our villain. But he does want to make things better, just his way.
Yeah, like, and it has to be his way.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is gonna have him and Leia in so many interesting conversations and so many clear clashes. But also, to have that, you need to set up a really good and clear backstory for him.
I've got a little idea for how to develop that conflict a little bit later. Little fun activity.
Oh, okay, right.
It's like a class-based activity.
Is that what we're doing?
But we're getting to it. We're not there yet.
Okay.
I'm just teasing you because I haven't told you what it is.
I might just quick more thing about Hux.
Go for it.
To move on.
Yeah, no, I was still on Hux.
Yeah. So I've taken a lot of inspiration from Star Wars Bloodline, just in terms of a jumping off point and how to shape the political landscape of this trilogy, because it is a political thriller, and it's
Political thriller.
Yeah.
Like House of Cards.
Yeah. It's just nice to know see what's in canon, and then to go from there. And
Bloodline the book is
Bloodline. Star Wars Bloodline
the
book. Yeah. And in that we do get to see Leia as a senator, and she has this interesting relationship with this person, on the opposite side of that with her, which is Ransom Costufo. And so for anyone who's aware of that character, that's who I'm kind of trying to shape Hux. Yeah, he's this really charismatic guy who, again, is just like, wants to do good by the galaxy his way.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this, because they are in opposition, but they have this really interesting relationship, the two of them, where they can see where the other's coming from, but they don't like it.
So I've been thinking a lot about the politics and stuff, and how many elements we have, how many irons we have in our writing fire. I was thinking, as a way of stripping everything back, instead of centrists versus populists, and for anyone who needs catching up, centrists is, fuck. I can't explain.
In Bloodline, there is the key conflict in the Senate between these two sides. Centrists, they want to keep the Republic, united as a centralized, super government, and then the populists want, the right to independently govern but still be in union with each other.
Right. And what I was thinking is, because we have this element of the crime underworld as well, we really want to explore how there's been 20 years for the crime underworld to kind of sink its roots into the Outer Rim and not let go of it, and that's kind of what the New Republic is worried about. I was thinking, instead of having Central to the Populace, we cut that entirely from the story.
Yeah, good. I'm actually
that.
been heading that way recently myself.
And we have it be military versus demilitary. So Leia is, and for the longest time, the New Republic has been demilitarized, much like, after World War II, everyone's like, all right, let's all strip it back and not be thinking about war all the time.
Except for the Americans and Russians.
Yeah. So they strip everything back. They're like, no more military, only democracy, only, peace. We're trying to aim for peace here in the galaxy. The younger generation comes in and they're like, hey, we're terrified of the crime underworld and the growing threat. We need to be able to defend ourselves or even outright attack them because they're running slave rings and we should be doing something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So Hux is in favor of military, obviously, either for the purpose of defending against the outer rim or outright attacking them. The way I see it, there are two roads for Hux. He is either a tragic villain, a senator with a sense of justice who is being led down the dark path, or he is a bad actor, an intentionally malicious senator trying to deliberately undermine Leia.
Right. Okay.
Those are the two angles I kind of see that we could run on Hux. And those are my ideas for Hux.
So,
Discuss.
I do like the former more. That's the way that I've been heading.
I think it makes so much more sense and it's so much more human. Like, it's something we see every day. People who are like, oh, you have the right idea, wrong execution.
Yeah. It's, the idea of who the key villain is for this trilogy, and especially for this first film, is something we're still trying to work out. But I don't think Hux is the pure evil villain. I like that he's more of a grey sort of character who, again, is just caught up in this.
Yeah.
In trying to do the right thing the wrong way.
Especially with that idea of, with those crime lords running around, him so desperately wanting to help and just not seeing any other way. And even if he can see firsthand what the demilitary form of government goes in and be like, oh, we can send you food and water and stuff like that, but we can't touch anything, and him getting to see firsthand that kind of destruction, I think would be really cool.
Yeah. And then one of the really interesting areas for conflict there is the fact that he is the generational gap between he and Leia. The fact that he didn't live through the last war. He would have been maybe a child, if that.
And we're going to get to Leia in a second, but I think that's the core of their character interplay is he's young, he hasn't seen war, maybe he's heard about it, and his parents went through it, yada, yada, yada. But Leia has, she was there, she lived it, and obviously they're going to have such different perspectives on it.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Hux before we jump into the other characters?
No, not really. I like the direction that we're heading. I think we're generally quite unified on him.
And getting to see someone who many would view as a villain being able to have a civil conversation with someone, I think it
gives hope in this dark time on Earth.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot more realistic, where you do have to sit down with people who aren't going to agree with you and have to find some civility in it.
Yeah, finding civility, that could be a nice message. I like that. Okay. So Lando. I have one note for Lando.
Okay.
For our sequel trilogy rewrite, Lando should be cool as ice and a cunning politician. Lando should make politics look cool. That's the goal. We have Lando, we have one of the coolest characters in Star Wars, and we've got him in the political arena because we feel like that makes sense. He was the leader of Bespin in the original trilogy, and it feels like he would be at Leia's side trying to make the New Republic work. So let's have him be fucking cool.
Yeah, honestly. It's something
That's what we're missing in the prequels. No one's cool. No one. Except maybe Padme, but anyway.
Windu at times, but he's there to split hairs and be an antagonist.
And he's also a Jedi, and he's supposed to be stoic and not be talking. I want someone who's in the political arena and they're cracking wise, you know what I mean? And I want it to be fun.
100%. You see so much of that. And I'm bringing it back to the Clone Wars. I'm so sorry.
No, you
do see it in the Clone Wars. You get to see, I can't remember, in a lot of the episodes, one of the episodes, Padme has a best friend who's actually on the opposite political spectrum.
Yeah, that separatist guy, yeah.
And I think that'd be a really good, going back to Hux and her, but you get to see these suave people who have to convince the public. And I would just love Lando to be on every poster ever.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, this guy wants to be in public, let's put him in the public. And he's just become like he still has political power, he's still smart, but he's just this spokesperson now who's just everywhere. And Leia's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And Leia is very popular because of her war history, and so is Lando, but Lando is fucking cool, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's something I pitched from day one is that he needs to be involved in politics. It makes sense. It's like when we get reintroduced to him in Return of the Jedi, he is a leader within the rebellion already after 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Leads the charge to blow up the second Death Star, was instrumental in that. And yeah, he was a leader of the fucking Bespin of a mining colony. Politicians should know how to be responsible with money, and I think that he would be.
I think he would be.
Or know how to make money, at least.
He'd be such a powerful villain.
He's so charismatic.
Such a powerful villain. And that's what you don't get to see. I mean, Count Dooku's charismatic, but not in a way that he's aware. He's just cool. You're like, this guy's fun, but he's just Lando as a villain. So good.
Dooku just inherited his wealth, you know, like Lando earned his wealth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stole it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's my note for Lando, and that's what I think his character should be. I also think, you know, he's very much a side character. I don't think he needs an arc. I think he can just be a support to Leia and her core story driving through
Yeah, for sure.
the political arena. But Mel, you got any notes for Lando at all?
Like more stuff going forward, more different ideas for 8 and 9, but that's gone
Okay.
to into the future. But yeah, no, 8, he can be a side character and still play a good role.
What I've
especially
always had
with
for
Leia.
him is, you know, our ultimate goal is to have Leia kicked out of the Senate at the end
Yeah.
of the first movie, so Lando would be her wire into the political arena. Like, what's happening in the Republic? You know, the Senate's still together, but it's very tense.
Yeah.
Lando's keeping her up to speed on everything that's
Yeah,
happening.
and that could be-
That's what I've been
I would
thinking.
also really love to see how these senators actually interact with their countries and their planets, because you never see how are they're like, my country wants this. I'm like, how do you know? Who are you talking to? Like, I would love to see Lando actually talking with constituents and going out.
That's really interesting. That's something we haven't brought up
You
at
don't
all,
see that at
because
all.
it's one, I think in these movies, you know, where do you find the time to do a scene like that?
Yeah.
It's hard. But
100%. Well, that's what so much
how
of
are you
politics
representing
is.
it's true. How are you representing a planet? You know,
Mm.
how can you possibly be elected to be a leader of a whole planet? Like, they haven't really ever
You don't
talked
get
about
to
that.
see him campaigning. You don't get to see him going door. I would love to see him going door to door, just knocking. People's like, you open your door and he's like,
And they slam the
Lando
door in his face. No
Calrissian.
politicians, and they slam the door.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, just add those little human elements. It would be fun.
That's really fun.
And a fan club. I want him to have a fan club. Just a
A
little.
Lando fan club.
I
That
mean,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. In the current canon, he had the Calrissian Chronicles on the HoloNet back in like the days of Solo, and there's a comic about it
The
all.
Calrissian Chronicles.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You hear him like there's a moment in Solo where, you know, shit starts to go wrong in Kessel, and he's like, the Calrissian Chronicles, episode whatever.
Oh
I
my
was here
God,
on this,
yeah.
you know.
That's that
Mhm.
in Solo?
Dude, I've got the comic. We need to read it sometime.
Looking at the comic on the
Yeah.
bookshelf
Isn't
over
that
there.
even. Yeah. And he's this little record. Oh,
I thought he was just doing like Captain's Log kind of thing
No.
from Star Trek.
No, he publishes
no,
that.
that's so cool.
Oh my god, I need to
Now
watch Solo
imagine
again.
him
That's
trying
He
really
has a
like-
podcast, yeah.
So good. Now I'm picturing him like trying to get Hans on it. He's like, speaking, they want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
The people need to know.
Yeah.
funny that he has a space podcast. Oh my god.
Makes sense though.
Let's jump into Leia. I think we've covered Lando. First note, in my mind, Leia is one of our 4 main characters in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, cool.
Rey, Finn, Ben Solo, and
Mhm.
Leia. Those, I think, are our 4 key characters. Everything else is either a side character or a side character. Lando, I honestly think, is like a side character.
But he's so cool.
What, Luke?
No, I think anytime, like, even though he's a side character, every time he comes on the screen,
Oh, he
you're
steals the
like,
show.
This
Yeah.
is the main character.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
don't-
Steals the show. But
You got-
doesn't have as much of an arc or, you know, any input or important decisions in the story as much.
Yeah, no, absolutely right with Leia. I liked that idea that they had for Lucas's treatment, where she was, you know, a key
Yeah.
focus on it, and I think she should be there. And if there's anyone who's like the most important bridge in the gap between this new trio generation and the old one, it's her.
Yeah,
She's
I
been
think so for sure.
through the absolute most of any of the old heroes.
I feel like maybe listeners would disagree and be like, no, Luke Skywalker.
No, his planet wasn't blown up.
That's true. Yeah, Alderaan was blown up. Yeah, she lost quite a lot.
He hasn't been in the I'm gonna dive into this for a sec. He hasn't been in the political sphere since as young as she was, at constant odds and conflict with the Emperor and Vader, only to find out that Vader is her father.
It's true.
She's gone through some shit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's a fair take. So, Emily.
I'd also love to see that actually reflected, like growing up in that sphere. She never talks about it, but I'm like, surely she's got to have like some cool stories and stuff that's gonna change. Yeah.
I think that'd be a really great moment to have, just as a scene where I love the idea of Rey and Leia working together, and maybe Leia even training Rey. A scene between them, and she maybe shares an anecdote of like, hey, this story happened to me, and maybe it is like very fucked up. It's terrifying, and some of her experiences, maybe have been very, very intense, and a lot of those are applicable life lessons that Rey could learn from her.
Well, I think 100%. I think a lot of her past can be glamorized. They're like, she's a princess, she was a senator, but holy crap.
Yeah.
Like in Andor, you get to see how tense those political circles are, let alone for a 6-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Like, and it's not even like she was like, we're going to wait until you're fully like a young adult to be thrown into it. They were like, yeah, she can talk. Put her in.
It is insane, the contrast between the upbringing that she and Luke had.
Oh my
Where it's like
goodness.
he got this, honestly, like even though it's
lot more
sucks out
sheltered.
there. But yeah, easy life out on Tatooine, and they thought the best idea for her, sorry Bale and Mrs. Organa.
Put her on
Um,
the political stage of the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
They were like, let's hide one in the most obscure one. The other one, let's put her right in center stage. and no one checks into her at any point.
Nope.
Oh, she was adopted right at the same time that Padme had a child. Interesting.
That's kind of she
sus.
kind of looks like.
There are a few people in the extended universe.
Carmelo extended universe.
Honestly,
Keating.
don't know what's going on today. Just really tapping into it. But there's a few people who know. And it's really interesting.
But would you not? And also, at what point is she being told like about like what are you guys planning on, like her past, that constant fear and anxiety, at least from her parents, knowing that? Because what were you guys planning on? And I don't know if you want to delve into this now.
What is in
with
specificity?
Vader?
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no, we have
does
ideas.
She find out?
Yeah.
Do they all find out
well,
together?
she finds out in Return of the Jedi about Vader. So that's
okay.
that's an on-screen
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But there's almost no reaction to it
There's no
because of
reaction.
how that trilogy is and the tone of it.
Yeah.
So I think something really interesting to
Like,
explore
does
would.
she?
Yeah.
It's almost like in that moment she's thinking more about, oh, I'm Luke's sister, as opposed to, oh, I'm Vader's daughter. I feel like that realization might come later.
Yeah.
But
And
also, like, in my head, there's no way that her as a character, like, she wouldn't have gone and investigated that growing up. Like, there's no way, with as curious a person as she is and intelligent, there's no way she would have
That's interesting.
not. Like,
That's
I
really
find
interesting.
that hard to believe.
No, I agree, especially seeing, what her character's like in Kenobi.
Like, she's so inquisitive. She's
She
like, I
definitely
need to
would've
know
been like,
everything about everything.
I'm adopted,
But
I'm
there's-
finding my parents.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
as, like, I'm picturing her as an 8-year-old just walking onto random ships being like, hi, do you know my parents?
Yeah.
she also could have had one of those. You see this in some media experiences where it's like, yeah, if she has that moment of curiosity where, and is really mad at her adoptive parents for not telling her more, have that arc where it's like, I don't need to know about my real parents because the parents I have, I love them and they're good to me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that, but she's just too
Yeah,
nosy in my soul.
no, it's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to jump into the rest of my notes real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So, Leia's story in the first movie should be defined by fear. That's a big theme that I think we want to explore with the first movie is just fear. And for her, it's of the First Order and the Return of the Empire. That's her biggest fear. She's also worried for her brother and the Jedi, like the Jedi Order, as well as Han and Poe on the Outer Rim. So there's a lot of things that she's stressed about and is filled with anxiety about.
And her son, depending on what's going on with him. Did you say Ben?
Oh, I said her brother in the Jedi Order, but that
Right,
counts Ben
yeah,
Solo as well.
yeah.
She would be worried about Ben, like, oh, I hope Luke's doing like a good job. But I think more she'd be worried about how the Jedi Order looks on the political stage, because I think that's a very contentious point of like, oh, there's an order of space wizards who are supposed to be peacekeepers, and they were all wiped out by the Empire.
But the thing is that, like, the distance isn't so far apart from what the Jedi Order used to be that, like, I think as much as she'd be worried, the Jedi Order used to work with them, I think she would be more worried that they could again be used for corruption.
That's true. However, something we explored in the last episode 6, was Operation Cinder. And how not only are they burning all the planets and all the facilities and stuff, they're burning information. And that's because that's something that we talked about Hitler tried to do in World War II, was burn everything, and there was a couple of people who stopped that from
doing
happening.
it all throughout history.
And there's so many examples of this where they're just like, oh, we did bad stuff, burn it all, no evidence. And Emperor Palpatine, for the most part, succeeded because he had massive repositories, like we see on Scarif, of all this information.
Yep.
And that's all burned, that's all gone, that's exploded. So it's very hard to find accurate accounts of what happened, even in the prequel era, and let alone before that in the High Republic.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really good moment to show some flashbacks too. Just like as she starts getting more stressed and more anxious, getting to see what it was like growing up with that military control in her life.
That could be interesting too.
Like that would be cool to visually see.
The thought came in, and the thought's fast disappearing. Oh no.
Grab it, Mello, grab the
No,
thought.
the thought. Chase the thought. Someone else go. Oh no.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's back.
What's the thought?
It's an
What's the
absolute
thought?
roller coaster. Okay. Yeah. No. The quick thing with the Jedi. Yeah. I think we've realized it would be a kind of like it depends on your own experience. If someone using the Force and someone brandishing a lightsaber, in your experience, you had seen Vader or the Inquisitors, and you'd grown up, and that was your experience, then you'd hate anyone who looks or acts like that. But if it's Luke rescuing you, his new generation, anything like that, then you might like them. And then people who are indifferent or afraid. Yeah.
Do you think
Good thought,
Bale?
Mello.
Yeah. Cheers. I think. Yeah.
Do you think Bale Organa would have ever told her about someone who was so heavily involved with the Jedi, or do you think out of fear he could have just completely shut off?
I think he would have been a big advocate for the Jedi and for the Jedi's return because he knows the grand plan behind the scenes with Luke, with Ben and Yoda still being around, Ben Kenobi that is.
Wouldn't that be grounds for treason though, if he's in any way advocating for the Jedi?
Well, that's why I'm like, would you trust a 5-year-old to be like, nah, the guys with the lasers, I didn't get a bad feeling.
I mean, his entire character is grounds for treason. He's advocating for the Jedi underground. He's a key leader in the rebellion. You know?
Yeah,
like,
for sure. But
yeah.
he's still like in the Senate
Yeah.
until the Senate is.
I'm not
dissolved.
saying he'd be doing it in public.
Okay.
No, but he would be telling Leia, you know, and you know, Leia, you should root for the Empire. The Jedi are awesome.
Yeah, just leaves like books out mysteriously. How did that get there? What?
Yeah, so Leia gets it. Leia gets that the
Yeah.
Jedi are good. Luke's one of them. Yada yada.
Yeah.
I think it's more about like convincing the wider public, who are very dubious, and all they know is that, you know, Darth Vader, the evil guy, used to have a red lightsaber, and he used to kill people with it.
The only solution I can see here is give Lando a lightsaber. That's all I can see.
What color?
There's one correct answer. It's purple
Why?
because it's cool.
Because purple. Do we get out of the cool
Nah.
colors?
It's either purple or pink because I feel like he could rock a pink lightsaber.
But do you think I'm picturing like he's like before he goes on his quest for his kyber crystal, he's looking at all his clothes and he has them lined up and he's like, now which color scheme
Emily,
am
that's
I
brilliant.
going with here?
No, that's genius.
Which one are we? Because I know you can't change your kyber crystal.
Tell that to
but
Star
Lando-
Wars Jedi Survivor, the video game. You can change it every 20 minutes.
As if Lando wouldn't have a multicolored lightsaber.
Oh, he's got the strobe lightsaber.
It just changes.
He doesn't even use it, he just brings it to parties. He's like, hey, Lando's here. Anyway.
I mean, you see that like underground, like again, Clone Wars. You see that underground where they steal Jedi's lightsabers and they sell them, and there's a whole arc with Ahsoka on. You watch that, people will sell that. So I refuse to believe Lando doesn't have one. Sorry.
I didn't know that was a thing. No one
Yeah.
told me that was a thing.
Yeah. Leia gets Ahsoka gets her lightsaber stolen.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And
That's
it's like the crime syndicates start using it, and she is an arc. She gets put up with this really, really old, slow guy.
yeah.
And he's like, it's kind of the whole great power comes great responsibility. And
Yeah.
she's like, dude, shut up.
And then, they do a
Yeah.
slow and steady wins the race.
So
thing.
that's very interesting to me because I pitched the other day and I got laughed out of the room that Rey's mom should have a red lightsaber and she should be in the crime underworld and that's how she gets it. And Mello and Sandra looked at me like I was an idiot. Anyway.
No, but
I
yeah,
was very
there's-
neutral in that
You were
conversation.
very neutral.
You know
Sandra
that,
called me an idiot.
No, but yeah, there's a whole thing where the crime underworld. I mean, it's a powerful weapon like anything. It's going to be stolen. It's going to be.
Hear that, Sandro? I was right the whole
You
time.
reckon Sandra's listening back?
I reckon he is, and I reckon he's hated a lot of this.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway, sorry, we've gone way off topic. We're gonna jump back into Leia stuff.
Leia.
Okay, so my next note: Leia is against any formal military, which is more and more becoming an unpopular position. So long after the Galactic Civil War, amidst the rise of the crime lords of the Outer Rim. So yeah, we've discussed this, but it's been a long time since the Galactic Civil War, and people are like, "Oh, maybe we should get the military back because we kind of need it right now." And there's a lot of different opinions why we should have it, but Leia's like, "No, you know, military only leads to war. We've seen this 100 times."
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go?
No, you go.
I feel like, yeah, no, I 100% agree. She's very strongly against it. But I think as you're talking about then, as she starts realizing that more and more people are against her and she can't win, she is one of those people who I do believe is willing to open to compromise.
Okay.
Because that's what separates her from Hux. Like,
Yeah.
she's been like, okay, if we are bringing this military, we have to set in parameters where that corruption isn't going to thrive. And I think that's when her meeting Hux would be her desperately trying to find that civility if she realizes she's losing. Like, she's smart enough to plan ahead.
That's a really nice like character evolution for her to show in this trilogy that she is more mature
Mm.
than the old Leia that would not compromise it.
Yeah.
Or it's no way.
Well, that's what she's learned throughout time.
Yeah, she's still a hard ass. She's still, you know, scathingly quick-witted, but she, you know, can compromise as well.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I think it is an interesting question posed as to, and this is again, this would be a key part of like the showing how she's changed to militarize to not militarize with Leia, because obviously she's fought through wars, and I could definitely see the idea of her wanting to demilitarize,
And
but
it ties into the fear as well, like the fear of any kind of war coming back because
Yeah.
of how, you know, horrible it
Yeah.
was.
But, she would definitely believe in the idea of not being defenseless because she's seen all of these horrors, and perhaps the answer to her there is the Jedi, but, how big of a role can they play?
And then are the Jedi just going to be galactic hitmen? You know what I mean?
Which is
like,
what they
Yeah.
basically were before. Like,
Yeah.
how do you create a military that can have such a wide stretch throughout the galaxy without not knowing what they're doing at every second? Like, if you've got so many people, you can't control what they're all doing.
and I think Mello, you go.
a droid army.
A droid.
Yeah, Roger,
army.
Roger, 100%.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
here for those little battle droids to come back in.
I think, we're butting up against, something that is a very real and difficult conflict in today's world where people are calling for less military funding and a defunding of the police. But then how do you enforce justice and the law without the threat of violence?
I think one of the solutions that I think Leia would definitely push for is an anti-corruption league. that goes up and monitors this, because that's like the one thing we have in Australia. We have anti-corruption bodies that go,
and it's famously good. Sorry. But
here's
getting too political.
Here's the thing, like, would they have that in Star Wars? And again, just how do you put, again, even military versus non-military, how do you do that over such a wide spread, such a vast space?
And I guess, what I'm butting up against is how do we present a solution in Star Wars, because we haven't found a good solution in the real world.
Yeah,
the Kaminoans come back in, they're like, what'd you say?
Yeah. Did clones solve all problems?
We've got a solution.
We don't make commissions in Australia until after something happens. So
so we have to be corrupt first and then make the commission.
Yeah. We only ever approve, like, because it's, it's billions in funding, these commissions, and it's only like, what? They've been mistreating the old people? Okay.
I'm hearing the listeners tune out in real time.
But it'd be cool to get to tap into those military funds.
I feel bad because we did our politics episode last week, and now we're right back here again.
Star Wars is politics.
It's true. But I want to get to my last note of Leia. Leia should know how to use the Force, but doesn't follow the path of the Jedi.
Yeah, I like that.
She doesn't agree with Luke on everything, and wanted to choose Han and Ben over a life of monastic tradition.
Yeah.
So she has the Force, she knows how to use it, but she's not. She's not on the same wavelength as Luke. It's like, maybe the Jedi were right, maybe they were wrong. Yeah. I'm not going to follow their tradition. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah,
that feels like what Leia would do.
100%. I think that's what would have happened if Padme and Anakin were still around. Like, you get to see both of those sides. Yeah. I think she's definitely going to fall into more of that kind of researcher, gather knowledge type Force, which is the green. She did have a lightsaber.
Yeah.
She would, like...
Yeah, no, I definitely think she has a connection to the Force. And I think it's unique, and it's an opportunity to show, like, different connections to the Force. And it might not be something that she uses, but it's something that's part of her life.
Actually had a thought about this. I thought maybe we could have a moment where she can very much directly sense emotions of people, maybe similar
Spider
to...
sense?
Yeah, no, not that. So Leia, in the game Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, he has the ability to touch objects and get sense echoes of, the moments leading up to a character's death or something like that, just like side characters. It helps basically get exposition to the person playing the game. But maybe Leia could do it too, and she has like some objects, and she's like, I'm going to sense Ben, see how he's feeling across the galaxy, stuff like that. And it's not traditional, maybe how, Jedi would use the Force, but it's something that she's kind of figured out she can do, and tapping into emotions with people she feels a very strong connection to.
Okay, yeah.
And then that also helps us edit and link between them in the script and keep them connected across the galaxy kind of thing.
Nice. Okay,
just an idea.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I love the sense, like an empathetic sense of the Force.
Yeah.
And I realized before I said she maybe not use the Force. I think use it in different ways, not use it to be like, I need to jump 50 meters.
I don't ever want to see Leia jumping 50 meters in the air. I don't think I'm down with that.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I need to get from the top of the center building to the bottom real quick.
And she's like, she does the Spider-Man. She looks around, no one's watching. Cool. And she jumps down. She does the Spider-Man landing.
100%. Or she's just like getting really, really mad in a fight with Lando over something silly, and she's just like,
she four strokes him.
Whatever. Yeah. Or he just slowly starts like moving away, like he's standing still, and he slowly just starts getting pushed off from the side of her.
It's another thing we wanted to explore. So at the very end of the story, we're very keen on having Hux and the First Order present a wave of evidence against Leia. We want it to be that Leia, this is another thing, ties into the fear that her secret gets out, that everyone finds out that she's the daughter of Vader.
Yeah, because at the moment we have, like it is in Bloodline, that
it's
for whatever reason,
reveal, yeah.
I mean, for obvious reasons, but for she's kept her heritage a secret.
Yeah. So that she can stay in the political arena without drama, kind of thing.
Yeah, and like in that, she'd kept it secret from a lot of people in her personal life, mainly Ben.
Which leads to Ben turning to the dark side. I think we're keen on scrapping that, but that's...
Yeah, but definitely politically, it would be a good idea to not reveal that.
I would love it to happen just after her and Hux are finding some common ground.
Yes, that's what we're thinking,
I would love... She's finally found a way that the military can somewhat compromise while still retaining that, like, we're here to help, not control.
Yes.
And that he's starting to win over, and some Force, like, something
Palpatine clone.
Sure. Palpatine clone.
I guess.
And he's just like, like, he's like, yeah, I can get power and help people. And then someone's like, so I want to get more power. He's like, so true. And just outs her. Just throws everything.
That's thing one. He reveals to the New Republic and everyone that she is the daughter of Vader. And then he also reveals a lie. But it's easy to fabricate. She has been keeping this because she has the Force and she's using it to manipulate people's minds to join her side of the political spectrum.
Yeah, and people's lack of understanding of the Force, again, because, like, not enough Jedi, and the mistrust of
And
Vader.
even potentially, her and Luke Skywalker have been working together to reform the Jedi Order as a task force of Antifa, sorry, not Antifa, something else that's not real, to take over the government.
No, I think that'd be really cool. I think a really devastating place to do it too, if we just really want to make it a little mean.
Yeah.
Is doing it like at a memorial for Alderaan.
Oh my god. Fucking hell, Emily.
That's so
Just
fucked
think
up.
it
I
was-
love that.
Savage.
Like she's just doing a speech in front of everyone.
And then Hux is like, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish.
But yeah, I think that'd just be such a good, just like rip out their hearts.
That is a rip out your heart moment. I love that.
because then it also reiterates like, Hux isn't just like he will push.
He'll
as
pull the
far.
dirty moves. You
Yeah.
know?
And that is the place where like you get to see.
So you know what our evidence is at the moment? Again, it's something I've stolen from Bloodline, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that we can take if we want.
Carmelo bloodline Keating.
Yep, it's like that today. Yeah, it's this recording from Bail Organa that she did find after Luke had told her that had been left to her. It's in kind of like a will. That was Bail telling her everything.
It'd be so good. Now I'm just picturing her like at the memorial reading out like a photo of her father there. And Hux is like, yeah, that is your dad. Or is it?
Oh, wow. That's really good because she's talking about Bail Organa.
Yeah, and she's like,
and
my
Hux is like, that's
father."
not your true father.
And you're like, liar.
Whoa, that's actually
It'd be
really
fun.
good. I really like that.
Just want to devastate the audience.
That's all
Yeah.
you got to do, man.
Good.
That's all that writing is just making your characters suffer as hard as possible.
Yup.
Yep, nice.
But yeah, so that's
Wow.
my notes for what we should do with Leia. That's kind of some of the fixes we want to go for. And then at the end of the Senate stuff, Hux brings out all that information. The New Republic has no choice but to like, okay, Leia's been lying. There's the potential that she's committed treason. She has to be kicked out, and they have to run away and kind of regroup as their own little.
Do you think that Lando would also publicly disown Leia, if not just to save him? Like, not in a selfish way, but in a way he's like, I have to distance myself from her so I can stay in power for her?
That's a really interesting take.
Or do you think he's like one of those emotional people where he's like, no, she would never do this and blah, blah,
I
blah.
feel like he would definitely use the shield of until anything is proven or disproven, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna stay going forward, and then on the side to be like, hey, Leia looks real bad in the Senate.
You're like, this is not looking
this is not good. It's heating up.
I suppose it raises the question of beyond Return of the Jedi, who is aware of Luke and Leia's heritage? Who like what's the sphere here? Obviously Han.
My headcanon is it's just them, yeah, and Ben
So
Solo.
Lando wouldn't.
Lando, I feel like Lando.
Oh,
Would.
Lando.
Lando
Yeah,
would
so
I feel
die?
like just the
Heroes,
crew. Yeah, just the heroes of the original.
Yeah,
trilogy.
and so Wedge Antilles as well.
I don't care about Wedge. No,
He's
I'm joking.
in the hero. So I love Wedge Antilles. I just want to reiterate that.
you-
I love Wedge Antilles.
I can't even remember who he is. Is he one of the pilots who's like friends with Luke?
Yeah.
He's so mad.
Yeah, no, not the one who's friends with Luke who dies in A New Hope. He's the
Okay.
pilot, right? He is the only rebel pilot who fought in the first destruction of the Death Star,
Okay.
bloody Hoth,
Yep.
and the second destruction of the Death Star.
Oh wow.
And
What?
he is Ewan McGregor's uncle.
Oh, that's nice.
So cool.
Yeah, so.
So cool.
I'm gonna need Wedge to be dead when we start the
No,
sequel
no, no.
trilogy.
It's Wedge Antilles, not dead
We have
Antilles.
too many characters already, Mello. He's got to be dead.
He can just be there.
Nah, he's dead. He died of old age.
He'll have a ceremony too.
It's a very small
We
ceremony.
get it. We
No medals.
get a memorial for Wedge some point in the background.
And yeah.
And then Leia interrupts that one with a memorial about her dad, and then Hux interrupts that one with a memorial.
Yeah.
And Babu Frick interrupts that one.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
People watching are just like, I don't know who we're
Yeah.
sad about.
So,
anymore.
I
My-
think it's time for summary, actually.
Oh, almost.
Oh, no?
Article
We have this-
2.5.
Oh.
Let's write a scene.
Oh, my God.
So this is the little fun activity I had a thought of because I was like, let's talk about the dinner scene because we've had this idea for ages of Hux and Leia and a bunch of other politicians, similar to Andor, where there's a dinner party.
And
they're all-
who's arranged this?
Uh,
Lando.
Ah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
you know the decoration's gonna be on point.
Oh, dude, it looks so good. It's like almost 70s inspired pop art, kind of like vibrant yellows and browns. You know what I mean?
Well, you know when they go to the dinner party that Vader interrupts, like, and it's clean, it's crisp,
Ooh,
that's
I like that. The
it's
one on
right.
Bespin.
Yeah,
No,
it's in
I
the
like that.
clouds.
I would love to see Leia making a joke about that too when she's coming
He's
in.
like,
She's
I
like,
hope this one ends better than the last.
"Oh, that's
Oh.
golden,
I hope
Emily.
this
Oh,
one's
you're on
better."
fire today. That's
great.
brilliant.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Because we can still have Boba Fett walk in. You know, like, we gotta have Boba Fett walk in.
It's someone dressed up as Boba Fett.
Yeah.
He takes off and then he's like, "Hey!" And Lando's like, "Ha ha, that's funny."
Okay, well, we've written that bit.
That's the funny bits. That was like, stupid. Okay. How can we make the dinner party tie into the theme of fear? This is the question I ask, and this is a pitch to you, Mello. And also Emily. I think you're on the same page as Mello here. To me, it seems like the logical choice is to have Hux be talking to Leia and prying for info, maliciously.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Like, you know the really, really long tables? Like, they're doing it in a very public way where everyone is there, but the way he's prying for information, she has to say something without looking guilty. You know that scene in Shrek?
Yes, oh my god.
The dinner party scene?
Yep.
Like, I want that kind of tension where everyone's like they've sat, they've mingled, and they're sitting down, and he's like,
So I heard you're adopted.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What's that like?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. My pitch was that in the midst of this, it's a dinner party, but it's drinking and it's
in Andor, the
conversing.
trick that they use, which is fantastic, is that it's a dinner
So
party,
good.
but they're standing up and drinking, I think either before or after food.
Yeah.
So they're walking around and you get that chance to see a bunch of people, but they're walking through the crowd. No one's really listening. It's just the two of them. It's kind of this perfect political camouflage.
Yeah, and I think Leia would be just fucking done with that at some point. Remove herself from the conversation to go outside, and Hux would seize this opportunity to confront her one-on-one.
Yeah, I like that.
100%.
And it's just the two of them kind of on the balcony at night overlooking the Hosnian
That classic sort of scene. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It was a little bit romantic, but we'll ignore that.
Yeah, but like, I think, but this is the moment where we get a bit of chemistry in the sense of a somewhat friendship between the two.
ideology.
Yeah, where we get to, that was the scene that I'd always written into our treatments, where it's like they finally start to see where the other is coming from, and we know that at the end of the day, what they want is the same thing. They want to fight this oppression, this threat, whatever it is, pirates.
But they have different
crime.
views on what the oppression is.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
neither is
maybe
willing to compromise.
We can do it either way. We could have Hux or Leia have made a move in the Senate that pisses off the other one, but they have a chance to explain here. It's like, hey, no, I know it looks like this, but really what I was trying to do is this. And what the move did also like shuffled a different political piece off the board somewhere. And it's moved it around and they go, oh, that's actually very smart. Like that was a good move.
I think it'd also be good for them to have a common enemy, again, like in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like the bank group, where they're both
fucking
like,
banking
those
clan.
guys are the worst.
Yeah.
I think for this, it's the crime underworld.
Yeah.
That's everyone's common
But I
enemy,
think they need to have a political, there needs to be like a political representative of the crime world.
Oh, so we need to
actively,
Someone who's
like the
paid off.
banking clan.
like that Neimoidian in Phantom Menace. I object. There is no evidence. Oh my god, there is so much evidence.
Literally.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Someone that they can, like, a way to break the ice where they're like, look, I hate what you're doing, hate him
Hate
more.
that guy more, yeah.
Hate
Common
him more.
enemy.
That's interesting. I like the common enemy idea because then we can already be introducing the idea of perhaps the criminal underworld has a faction in the Senate or they've paid off a faction within
Yeah,
the Senate.
there's no way they haven't paid off someone.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
And
So-
then they can be like, it's so clear that they've been paid off. You know, we both hate this guy. My move made their life harder kind of thing. And Leia goes,
Yeah.
oh, that's a really solid move. I really
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Nice.
And then they're like, oh, cool. And you kind of get the tension breaks a little bit. And then they get to chat. They maybe make some jokes, yada, yada. They talk about the party. And then we get to build the tension a little bit more as they go back into maybe what's the key issue that they're going into the Senate maybe tomorrow or whatever to talk about. And that is the military funding kind of thing. It's like, how are we going to compromise on this?
I think Lando has to be the one to bring it up. Like, I think neither one of them, they're desperately both trying to avoid it to the point where they're like, because that's the thing, you never want to be rude to someone's face. You don't want to bring up the thing. But if someone else does, like, you're going to talk about it. Like, and I think that's why Lando's really good to be the one hosting this party, is they're both kind of using him as the buffer.
That's interesting. We've talked earlier in the episode about how direct Leia is, though, and how she would kind of just jump straight for the throat of it. It feels like she'd be like, so tomorrow, huh? And Hux is like, whoa, straight shooter.
Yeah, true. No, yeah.
And he's got this
Actually,
maybe
changed mine.
younger style of politics where you kind of beat around the bush. You don't get straight to the point. Leia's like, this.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm older now. I don't have time for this. This is a waste of
very
time.
much
Yeah,
that way.
100%.
I think where Lando could jump in to interrupt would be maybe we get to this conversation, the tension builds, and then Leia's like, okay, maybe we'll do it your way. I'll think about it. And that breaks the tension. But then Hux is like, so I heard you're adopted.
Oh.
And it's not malicious, but he's
Yeah.
genuinely curious and he's trying to make conversation and it gets a little bit awkward.
We're
It gets
sowing the
tense.
seeds of the
Yeah.
future conflict.
And
Yeah.
she kind of like you see in her
She
eyes.
immediately just views him, oh no, he knows.
Maybe that, or maybe like she's just scared of the conversation. It gets a little bit awkward, and then Lando comes in, saved by the bell kind of thing, and Lando's like, "Hey, what are you two kids been doing?"
And then when we do see them again in the Senate, it would be interesting to see, the progress that they've made in that conversation. Is it to be undone, or can it be furthered?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think Leia's biggest enemy throughout this is her fear.
Yes.
Like, that's what, I mean, no one knows what was going to happen if she'd just openly gone out and be like, Vader's daughter, anyway. But I think her fear is what's going to stop her from...
So, this conversation, very much shades of Andor here. This conversation leads Leia to make a move, maybe she double checks with some, archivist or something like that. She's like, hey, just making sure, what are your records on my adoption? Because I don't want anyone having access to this. And then Hux sees this move, or maybe Hux has this move pointed out to him by Palpatine clone. Ignore the Palpatine clone for a bit.
Yeah.
He has this pointed out to him in the story, and he's like, oh, maybe I should double check this. It's weird that I brought up the adoption thing.
Yeah.
And Leia was very kind of weird about it, which, would have been fine, except for the fact that she did this. And then he follows up, and then that leads to ultimately her undoing when he discovers the truth about his Leia's parents.
100%. And I think...
And like you said, sowing the seeds in that conversation. Sorry, Emma.
And I think it'd also be really cool for her to, like, as every time she talks about Hux, she's so against Vader and everything he stood for. Like, I want Hux finding out about Leia to also kind of be like a betrayal. He's like, dude, what the hell?
Why
like,
are you keeping this from everyone? This
like,
is...
he thinks, like, everything she stood for is now a lie. Like,
Yeah.
I think he honestly
I looked up to you. I
believes-
respected you.
Yeah, like, as I was saying before, you could play it in his way, like, oh, I can say this to get more power, but I think he's honestly mad at and hurt at her, that to the point where he actually believes that, oh, wait, you actually are one of these villains. Like, you don't stand for anything. Because I think they have that sense of, like, mutual respect between them.
Yeah.
Like, the only way they're breaking ice is because he's like, oh, she is very blunt. She is actually saying what she means. Until she isn't.
That's so interesting. No, I really like that. The idea of, like, feeling that betrayal. Even though he's on the
Yeah.
wrong side.
Yeah,
he
but
feels
he's
betrayed.
like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, interesting. Mello? Oh, I thought you had something.
No, just
Chilling.
really here for this
Yeah,
conversation.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the notes I had, and I'm really enjoying this dinner scene little idea, just like
The
throwing
more
ideas
that
for a
it
scene
grows,
together. It's nice to dive into a really specific, like, here's this scene, these characters, this interaction. I love doing that. So.
And I think just that one question left to ask is, how does blue wine look on screen?
Oh.
You know?
Oh, it's like bubbles and shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. I'm picturing like sapphire.
Ooh.
Okay.
Like sparkly.
Yeah.
Not like the milk.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they've like it's pretty and it's emerald and Lando walks around and he swirls it.
Yeah.
I can see Lando with it. Lando sold me.
Yeah.
Lando was a wine person and I
Yeah.
believe it.
Oh, he
Yeah.
totally is.
What's funniest about this is that both blue and green milk are in Star Wars, and yet this recent content really likes to favor the blue. It's in Andor, it's in Mando, and everything. Anyway,
It's a weird trend. They
is.
did it in Andor as well. He had like blue cereal.
the macaroons, you know,
So weird.
like
I think it's also going to be really cool. This is my last note, I swear.
Go for it.
To also that dinner party to see how Lando is as a politician more than just some effervescent, charismatic person. Like, he's smart, and seeing how he talks and how smart he can be with these other politicians would be cool.
I think it would be really funny to have like a, we see him in random conversation with other random politicians where he's giving backhanded compliments.
I would love to see just like the puppet mastery of him just going around being like, oh, this comment here, and it like it's just perfect comment.
Yeah, because you don't really see how smart he is in the other movies, but to get where he is.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm very much on board with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's cool.
And that's a way to intercut the scene as well, where we like bounce between Leia and Hux back to Lando, and he's talking to random politicians and stuff, having little small conversations, and you kind of get the vibe of, I mean, it's stupid, a vibe check of the politicians and what they are believing and feeling at that current point about the military situation, which helps us write a script.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic.
definitely.
So into Article 3, our conclusions. I'm wanting to do Article 3 a little bit differently now, just because it's very hard to kind of create conclusions. We want to have an idea of going forward, so we'll do a brief recap. But it's it's hard to lock in concrete resolutions when we know we're going to go back and change stuff anyway.
Yeah. That being said, I think we are seeing eye to eye on these characters at the moment.
Very quickly, yes.
Yeah.
So, Sandro, if you are listening to this, I'm so curious to know what you think about the populist versus centrist thing getting scrapped, because Mello and I seem to be on the same page about that. It's just very complicated and very dense, talking about so much politics stuff.
It's one of the things that bogs my treatment so far down, and immediately after we did that, we brought up another one the other day.
If we
it
trim it
annoyed
back
me,
to
yeah.
military versus demilitary, that just links us from politics to crime world.
Yeah.
And then that gives us so much more leeway to explore the crime world in the second and third movie. So I'm very much on the side of that.
Yeah.
We should be stripping back the
And
story.
and just quickly, because we'll run into this issue, we're gonna do this in a unique way where it's not the same as the prequels. It's not the same as, oh, the Republic's under attack, we need to raise a clone army. It'll be different.
I mean, a little bit of a spoiler. They never did a heist in any of the other trilogies, just saying.
I'm so here for it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
We're
love
very
yeah.
much,
heists.
we don't know what we're going to do with it or how it's going to work, but we would love to do a heist in episode 8.
Episode
With
8's definitely
Babu.
yeah,
With
yeah,
Babu.
Bab-
Babu will be there for the heist.
He's the key to all of this.
So military versus
Yep,
demilitary
yeah.
instead of centrist versus populist. That's one of our key ideas right now. And it seems like we're on the mind of Hux being a good, just person who is led astray because of, dark forces and manipulation and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he looks up to Leia, he respects Leia, and he wants to come to terms and compromise with her, but it's just not happening. And because of corruption,
it'll ultimately be betrayed by, revelation of her past, and all of that hard work that we're gonna build in this film is gonna be undone.
Yeah.
It will be devastating.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then Leia's story, we're very much keyed into this idea of fear, and it's something that goes across a lot of our other character discussions and what we've been talking about as well. It's Leia's fear of the war returning, the return of the Empire.
The thing that she fought her entire life to beat.
Yeah, the fear of losing her family. So Han he's in a very dangerous spot on the Outer Rim, working with Poe Dameron.
Yep.
She's scared for him, of course. She's scared for Luke and Ben, and
Constantly
how isolated they are on this Jedi planet. So there's a lot of fear surrounding her character arc and her character journey in the film, and I think exploring how she processes and deals with that fear and that anxiety would be very interesting as well.
Also, just before we start to finish completely, maybe a scene in which we get to understand how she coped and dealt with that revelation of Vader earlier in her life.
Also scenes of how she, was able to cope with losing Alderaan, because that is that's some trauma that I can't even comprehend.
What does mental health look like in the Star Wars universe?
Yeah.
You know those droids in Clone Wars? And they're like
Emily Clone Wars Holden.
And they have like the surgeon droids. Like imagine like you're really stressed and you walk in, it just like slowly turns to you.
And
it's
how
really
does that
interesting
make you feel?
It's really interesting you say that, because they have almost therapy droids in Mando as well. They have the droid that's helping the Doctor return to work, basically, in Mando Season 3. So that's interesting as well.
We know what such a great job that thing's doing.
Yeah, it's silly. That's weird.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Just thinking about the ethics of having a robot do therapy for humans. It's kind of weird. Shouldn't a human be doing that? Anyway.
Star Wars
is weird. Yeah. So, okay. And Lando should be cool. He's a great side character, but he should remain that way. He doesn't need a character arc. That's where we're with that. I think most of the other stuff stayed the same, but it was really good to dive into these characters, explore the dinner party scene in particular. I love the dynamics we've got going on there.
And we've got the motivations as well.
Yeah. So. Fantastic. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this episode as much as we did, dear listeners and dear viewers. This has been our character analysis of Leia, Lando, and Hux, and until next time, may the Force be with you.